break down racial hierarchies. That when we talk about how we sort of analyze people in the marketplace, we should always assume that people are equal. On the other side of that debate, were people like Carlyle and Thomas Carlyle and John Ruskin, sort of the romantic authors, who argued for racial hierarchy, who argued that the problem with free markets was they broke down those racial hierarchies. It was the economists, the free market economists, the classical liberals, who were on the side of racial equality. And it was Carlyle who termed economics the dismal science. It was dismal precisely because it would break down those sort of hierarchies and turn us into this world where everything was about, about money and about sort of turning people into this gray, green, gooey glob of humanity. Right? He wanted the old system. It was economics that was the progressive. It was free markets that were progressive in breaking down those hierarchies. Those guys, John Stuart Mill, bleeding heart libertarians. Right? Concerned about, by the way, if you've ever read Mill on women's issues too, you know, right, that he was also concerned about in the context of the 19th century, other groups who were not so well off among us. So I think that's really important. We have a tradition, classical liberals and economists in particular, have a tradition of making these kinds of arguments and being on this side of the issue. And I think we have to continue to do that. We have to recapture that rhetoric and that way of thinking about what libertarianism is. Also, another point that Jason made I want to follow up on is that bleeding heart libertarianism is not a set of policy prescriptions. People, even on the blog, those of us who are on the blog, our views range from classical liberal to anarchist. It's all over the map. Okay? So it's not a set of policy prescriptions. It's a view of, it's a way of understanding how libertarianism can be or should be morally justified, or at the very least, what kind of factors matter a lot for understanding why liberty is good. It's not about natural rights, but it's also not about the kind of traditional, broadly utilitarian argument that some classical liberals like Mises made. It's a particular form that argues that the justification and the best reasons for being a libertarian are because liberty serves the interests of all, and particularly the least of all. If you want to call that Rawlsian, you can. I'm fine with that. Okay? And one of the arguments that bleeding heart types tend to make is that libertarianism meets Rawls's criteria of justice. Okay? And I think that's a very powerful argument. I think it's true, but I also think it's a very powerful kind of argument to make. But it is also a suggestion about our rhetoric, bleeding heart libertarianism, that we should lead with our concern for the least well-off among us, rather than the cartoon libertarian, what's in it for me. It's simply more effective to talk that way. It's also right, okay? But it's also more effective. So bleeding heart libertarianism doesn't imply anything about the particular views one has. It's a set of concerns. It might be the case that welfare state institutions better serve the interests of the poor. I don't think they do. But if it was true, then I'd be for them. I'm not, because I don't think they work. Okay? So that's for bleeding hearts, that's the concern. How well do these institutions serve all of us, including especially the least well-off among us? And I think that's it. When we recapture that concern and put that at the center of what libertarianism is, I think we've got a better theory and a more persuasive one. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Wow, there's a lot of you. How many of you are economics majors? Wow. Hi. How many of you are English majors? Hi. Nice to meet you. I